a world where the number of movies available is great, but many are so bad. You'll learn a new definition of hate. One man sifts and reviews through the movie sludge. One man will be the movie cop, jury, and judge. He goes by many names, but you know him by Movies Merica.
Hey everybody, this is Van, and I'm out here in the forest, and as you can hear, the cinematic wilderness this week is pretty quiet, so I'm going to be reviewing a movie from earlier this year called The Tender Bar with Ben Affleck. So, enjoy, and roll that intro! Hey, all you beautiful movie-loving people out there, live from a red carpet somewhere, surrounded by celebrities. This is the Movies Merica podcast with Van Ebert, where movie reviews meet cold brews. Van will review your favorite and maybe not so favorite movies while enjoying some ice-cold beers and saying cheers. Now let's head into the theater and join our illustrious movie reviewer du jour, who's no doubt got the beer ready to pour, Van Ebert. Hey there, everybody. Hey, thanks a lot for joining me here for this latest episode of Movies Merica. And yeah, as you heard me say a little earlier, that this week is pretty barren as far as movies go. So, which I'm surprised. We're right in the middle of the summer movie season. Maybe I realize the COVID pandemic probably changed things a little bit here as far as movie scheduling. But yeah, I'm just surprised that we have a quiet movie weekend here this week. But anyway, we're gonna make do. We are gonna adjust. We're gonna overcome and adapt like the Marines, right? And this week we are going to overcome and adapt via reviewing a movie that I think that you will like if you haven't seen it already. And it's a Ben Affleck movie from Amazon Prime called The Tender Bar.
Your grandfather is a selfish old prick who resents taking care of his family.
And yet, you all end up back here at my house.
Welcome. Your only uncle, so also your favorite uncle, right?
Sounds like some maybe.
I have no idea how, but you are going to law school.
So you can sue your father for child support.
No, so he can help with your fines about the septic tank.
No, here we go.
Hey, whose kid is that?
My sister's.
Which sister? The hot one or the crazy one?
What, you wanna die? Okay, 2 rules. I'm never gonna let you in. And I'm gonna always tell you the truth. Your father is deadbeat. I'll take care of you. Teach you the male sciences. I saw you in the yard playing sports. You're not very good. Find some other activities.
I like to read.
You read enough of those? Maybe. You could become a writer. One more thing, very important. Never hit a woman, even if she stabs you with scissors.
Got it.
Got an announcement. Today, my nephew is officially a man.
It is a great pleasure to offer you a place in the Yale class of 1986.
Hey, I'm JR.
Sydney, you're in my class.
I doubt it.
So what do you want to be, JR?
I'm going to be a writer. Well, what's your main theme? The absent father. Poor boy who wants a rich girl.
She doesn't love you. What you do next is going to be important.
Would you go and stare up at the building in the rain?
No.
Well, I'm on my way. I don't know where I'm going. I'm on my way.
What are you gonna do without the bad guy in your life?
In life, you gotta have it. If you don't have it, you never get it. And I say you got it.
I know. Yeah, no guns, no explosions, no superheroes in that trailer right there. But, it's a great movie regardless. And it's a great movie because, for this kind of movie, it's good because it doesn't have those things, right? And so, but before we get into, the main course of this episode, reviewing The Tender Bar, let's go ahead and just fill you in on a little essential information I always go over here just to make sure everyone's in the know. And that is that these episodes are on Apple Podcast, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, many other podcast platforms that I'm sure you can think of. And also, if you're on Apple Podcast, feel free to scroll all the way down to the bottom and check out those funky 5 stars and give it a 5-star rating. And then also there's a write a review button right there down there. So while you're down there anyway, hanging out in that vicinity, you might as well click on that to write a review button and write a review. And hey, you know what? I encourage honesty, absolutely. So brutal truth, and hey, if that involves you like saying, hey, how excellent and how life changing my podcast is, hey, by all means, yeah, because I'm sure that's the case, right? Yeah, of course. And also, if you go all the way to the very top, if you scroll to the very top of the episodes, there's the ellipsis, the 3 dots. If you click in there, there's a follow the show option. If you click on that, that's going to download the episodes for you automatically. So it's one less thing in life that you have to worry about. The episodes for Movies Merica are also on moviesmerica.com. And also, I'm on social media on Twitter and Instagram under Movies Merica. Yeah, so that's where you can see me loitering out in front of the Twitter and Instagram bar, just up to no good, putting out posts and putting out my little opinions and reviews and all that, and that gives you another chance to communicate with me as well. So if you want to, direct message me there, whatever, so feel free. I will not be offended. Okay, so hey, let's get right into one of the traditions of each episode here. And again, since this is the home of movie reviews mixed with ice-cold brews, let's get to that ice-cold brew. What do you say? We're going to get to the movie review part in a second, but, let's do a little due diligence and get to the ice-cold brew. And this week's ice-cold brew is from Epic Brewing, and it is their big, bad, wait, let me do it again. Their big, bad Baptist Imperial Stout. Yeah, big, bad Baptist, yeah. Say that 10 times real quick. So, big bad Baptist. And so I am going to take a big bad tug off of this big bad Baptist Imperial Stout. So, excuse me. It's good stuff. All right. Okay, so let's get into the Tender Bar. And to be honest with you, I keep having to resist saying the Temper Trap. The band Temper Trap. It's not the Temper Trap, Van. Get it straight, Van. Come on. It's the Tender Bar. The Tender Bar. The Tender Bar. Just got to keep remembering that Ben Affleck's character, Uncle Charlie, runs a bar. He owns a bar. So the Tender Bar. Okay, I think I can keep it straight from here on out, but we'll see. We'll see. We're in a minefield right here, potential minefield, where I'm gonna get the movie name wrong. So, but yeah, I really like this movie. I really do. I found it's like a gratifying, heartening, hilarious, nostalgic story. It's just about a little boy. He's the main character, JR, who later obviously becomes a man, and he grows up without his dad in his life. So he's got the classic deadbeat dad situation, but he grows up and he gets, his dad turns out to be mainly his Uncle Charlie, played by Ben Affleck, but also his Uncle Charlie's friends, and they all hang out at Ben Affleck's bar. And yeah, JR is just raised up by all these men. It's Ben Affleck and his crew, and they just they love JR. They want to make sure that he has everything great for him and looking out for him. And so Ben Affleck and his buddies are help be the man in JR's life since his deadbeat dad's not around. And you'll see in the movie how they portray his deadbeat dad. that it's probably better that his deadbeat dad's died on his life, and so that worked out. That was very fortuitous, absolutely. So, but yeah, so that's The Tender Bar, and there's more to the movie than that. But watch the movie and you'll find out all the other parts of the movie. It's much more than my lame description that I gave you right there. But. And yeah, the major players in this movie are a couple of former Batmans. Yeah, this movie was directed by George Clooney, and it stars Ben Affleck. So, yeah, we got a couple of Dark Knights running the show in this movie, and it's the first time that they've teamed up. George Clooney and Ben Affleck. It's the first time they've teamed up since they both won Oscars for Best Picture for Argo, and that was 9 years ago. So Argo won the Best Picture, and they were both producers on that movie, and then Ben Affleck, of course, directed and starred in Argo as well. And so it's been 9 years since that, and so they're joining forces again here for The Tender Bar. Absolutely. And this movie was written by William Monahan, and he is mostly famous or most best known for writing a little-known movie called The Departed. Yes, The Departed, Martin Scorsese's mob classic, The Departed, that also won Best Picture. So yeah, and William Monahan, he also wrote Body of Lies and Kingdom of Heaven. So he's been doing a lot of projects with Leonardo DiCaprio with The Departed and Body of Lies. And so this the movie is based on a book also named The Tender Bar, also titled The Tender Bar. And it's written by an author by the name of J.R. That's our main character of this movie, J.R. Moringer. And so, yeah, and William Monahan, I think he does a master stroke job of adapting the book to this screenplay right here. Now, I haven't read the book, but if the book is even better than the writing in this movie, then I seriously got to go pick up that book. Because the screenplay and just the dialogue, I mean, just the lines that the characters have is just fantastic. I mean, it feels so homegrown and organic and original and just true to life. And I enjoyed it. I love the banter, just the crap talking and just the kind of talk that you would imagine happens in a bar, right? And this all takes place on Long Island, and so it's a Long Island bar. It's like a little town there, and in Long Island, and just everybody knows each other. Especially everybody that goes to the bar knows each other. And Ben Affleck is Uncle Charlie. Like I said, he runs the bar, and so he's just he's like not formally trained, not formally educated, but he's self-taught, and he's got that very subtle, not in your face, educational acumen about him. I mean, he has a lot of knowledge. He didn't have to go to a college and a university and spend $250,000 to get it. He just self-taught, just read a lot of books, and in this movie, that is aptly demonstrated. With his character is you just really learn profusely that Uncle Charlie, he knows his stuff. He's a well-read guy, very well-read. And so and there is some narration to this movie. It's got a voiceover, kind of it's got a resemblance to 80s coming of age movies, that has a voiceover over it, just like Stand By Me with was it Richard Dreyfuss did the voiceover for Stand By Me. Just a good coming of age movie. The Tender Bar is just like Stand By Me, but in this case, the narrator is Ron Livingston. Yeah, Ron Livingston, who so I should say, so the main character JR, his mom wants him to go to Yale or Harvard. Well, he ends up going to Yale, so Ron Livingston also went to Yale as well, and so that's kind of a cool connection, and kind of a cool similarity. And so Ron Livingston, if you're wondering, if you're scratching your head going, who's Ron Livingston? You talk about Ron Livingston here, Van, like I'm supposed to know him. Well, Ron Livingston was the main character in Office Space. He was Peter Gibbons in Office Space. Also, he was he was in Band of Brothers. He played Captain Nixon in Band of Brothers, and then also he stars in multiple seasons of the TV series Loudermilk now. So, and he's pretty funny in that. But that's Ron Livingston. And he does the narration for this movie. Now, they could have done without the narration. It's not essential in it. I mean, it would have been just fine without it. But I don't think it takes anything away from the movie. But it's not essential. It doesn't add a whole lot like Richard Dreyfuss's narration with Stand By Me. But, it's all good. And also, I should mention, this movie takes place during the 70s and the 80s, which is cool. I always like, period movies like that, and so you get to see the cars and the clothes and the times, just the way they all talk in this movie. So I mean, this had every 70s trope you could think of, other than a fondue pot, right? And but because it takes place in the 70s and 80s, the soundtrack is just tip top, man. I'll tell you, it's a stone cold gas, man. Yeah, take you back to the 70s. So it's got great music in it. By the likes of Golden Earring and Steely Dan and Paul Simon, as you heard in the trailer there. Pilot, the Isley Brothers, just fantastic. And I think it adds a lot to the moments in the movie, and George Clooney places the music masterfully. I think he's right up there with Quentin Tarantino in this movie with just the picking the perfect songs for the perfect moments. I mean, just think, Steelers Wheels, Stuck in the Middle with You, during the ear cutting scene in Reservoir Dogs, Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon, in Pulp Fiction, with John Travolta showing up at Marcellus Wallace's house, getting ready to hang out with Uma Thurman. I mean, just, great musical touches, great musical placement, and the right songs to play. And so George Clooney will pick like kind of more upbeat tune during a more upbeat scene, and then he'll play, some melancholy music, some melancholy tunes, when it's needed. When it's going to enhance a kind of a more melancholy, dramatic scene in the Tender Bar. But so yeah, if you haven't guessed so far, yeah, I definitely would recommend checking out this movie. So if you've got Amazon Prime, it's out there. I think it was in the theaters for about 5 minutes. I don't think it was intended to be a theatrical release. At least I don't think so. But it's on Amazon Prime. Or if you don't have that, I'm sure you could probably rent it, on some streaming service or something like that, and check it out there. And so there is, a romantic relationship in the second half of the movie, and I could see. So I'm perceiving something kind of weird about the romantic relationship involving JR. And they kind of touched on it a little bit in the trailer that you just heard there, and it's in the second half, and I could see some people feeling that the romantic relationship was unneeded, but me personally, I mean, I'll be perfectly honest with you, I think it helped the story. I think it enhanced the story. I think it drove home one of the major points of this movie by showing that JR is going through normal, typical life struggles that most, if not all of us, go through. Particularly in the area of romance and relationships, people's love lives. Yeah, love lives. Wow, I can't talk today. And when you have, when you struggle in your romantic life, in your love life, that cultivates what I like to call soul, right? You become more attuned to the human condition. I think you develop more empathy, and it kind of gives you're kind of a little bit more grizzled but also it kind of gives you thicker armor to yourself, right? But it also gives you a knowing perspective on life, and it kind of does away with that whole notion that some people have, about life, where life is, if you just play everything fairly down the line, if you're just a nice person, if you work hard, and you feel a certain way about man, woman, whatever that you're interested in, or whoever that you're interested in, that things are going to go well, things are going to go good. They're going to return your affection to you that you are giving to them, and everything is just going to be everything's going to be great. And but obviously, as we all know, that is not the case. And you go through a relationship, and you try your hardest, and it just doesn't work out because one of you wants to be in the relationship and one of you does not, and that's never going to work, right? Of course, I'm not telling you anything you don't know already. And so because you go through that, it develops soul, you develop thicker skin, but you develop a telling of life, an enhanced, more laser-focused perception on life and what life can be. And I think it kind of gives you that soul, that subconscious depression that a lot of writers have, that make them good writers. And the reason I bring up writers is because JR wants to be a writer. He doesn't, and eventually he doesn't want to just be a writer. He's going to be a writer. And I think, if you don't go through those hardships, if you don't go through those tribulations, it's harder to be a good writer. And I think, any of the people that I know that are a writer, I think would agree with me. I would venture they would agree with me on that. If your whole life is wine and roses and good times and nothing but bliss and happiness, I don't think you can be as profound and as engaging a writer. And so because of that, I think that's a romantic relationship that I could see some viewers of this movie not thinking that it was essential, or why put that in there. It just seemed, out of place. I think what I just explained spells out why I think it really enhances the story, really helps with the story. And also, I think you'll see that Clooney and Monahan, they throw in a couple of red herrings in this movie involving Affleck and Affleck and JR's mom. And when you watch the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about with these red herrings. And I think I understand why they put those in there, and maybe it was just to throw people off into thinking like, oh, this movie's going to get a little bit more formulaic. It's going to really go into an area that we've seen in a bunch of other movies before, and it's just going to be, going down this roadmap of coming of age, or a movie rich in human interactions and relationship dynamics, and it's just going to go down that road just to provoke a cheap emotional reaction. And so you'll know what I'm talking about. You'll know what these red herrings are when you watch the movie. But and then again, this movie, it does have a lot of things that we've seen in other movies before, but this movie's not trying to be groundbreaking. I can assure you, George Clooney and William Monahan, weren't going like, man, we are going to reinvent the movie experience. We are going to turn the cinematic world on its head. Oh man, this movie is going to be totally original. It's going to be unlike anything that anybody's ever seen before. Like, no, that's not what they're going for. That's not. And I think that people demanding that movies are that way, like, oh, you're not allowed to have anything in your movie that I've ever seen ever before in any other movie ever in my life. That's not allowed. And if you do have things that I've seen in other movies, well, your movie automatically, there's no way it's going to make no way it's going to get an A grade. At the very most, it's going to get a B grade. Like, what? It is ludicrous. it's ridiculous, to have that standard here. But I think this movie, it doesn't have to have all that. I think that this movie having those familiar themes and familiar, plot points to it, or the familiar way that that the main characters interact with each other. I mean, it's like a comfortable, warm blanket. I mean, to be honest with you, and I mean, I like this movie just because it's a heartwarming, comfortable movie that just makes you feel good. Makes you laugh. I mean, I laughed out loud, a bunch of times in this movie. It just takes you back, and I think, not to get all dramatic, but I think like in this time of, just divisiveness and chaos that we see pointedly and obviously in this world, just sitting down and watching a movie like The Tender Bar is just what the doctor ordered. I mean, it's fantastic for that purpose there. I just like how the family all, just interacts with each other. I mean, just the relationships between the family. It's so Ben Affleck is, he's JR's uncle. So obviously JR's mom is Ben Affleck's sister. And so Ben Affleck's Charlie character and JR's mom, they all live in their grandpa and grandma's house in Long Island. So, and then you've got another sister in the mix, and she also lives there. So it's like just one big, not always happy family living under the same roof. But it was just this, warm and familiar and just engaging dynamic between all the family members in it, and it feels like home, just like the character of JR says in this movie. And now his mom doesn't want to be there. Obviously, who wants to move back in with their parents, right? When you're an adult. But so for that reason, she doesn't like living there, but JR likes living there because he likes having his family around. He likes having people around, and especially likes having his Uncle Charlie around. And so as the young JR, so we got JR, when he's, I don't know, I'm bad with kids' ages. I'm going to say 8 years old, 9 years old, something like that. And then there's JR is as a high school graduate, trying to get into Yale or Harvard. But the younger JR is played by Daniel Ranieri, and he is just fantastic. He is just lights out good in that role. You're just rooting for him, and the chemistry between him and Ben Affleck is just out of this world good. And it's they play it totally convincing. Like I believe, like, okay, yeah, Ben Affleck could be, this kid's uncle, his loving uncle in real life, And I would be remiss if I didn't say, didn't also say that. I mean, just the dynamic between Uncle Charlie and JR, and how, Uncle Charlie has to be the surrogate father because JR's deadbeat dad isn't around, and just the way that they get along, like Uncle Charlie clearly loves JR like he's his own, and it's just really cool to see that. And then also Ben Affleck's, buddies always hang out in the bar, all the bar flies there. I mean, they love JR, and they're all just looking out for this kid. It's just hilarious, and just, I think it's funny. There's some viewers might not like the fact that there's all these grown men, and they're out there and they're just dropping F-bombs left and right, just talking like they would talk to each other, but in front of the kid. They're not like watching their language in front of JR. And it's just like that. It's because that's how they talk, right? It's Long Island. There's some dudes, just interacting with each other, and including JR in on the fun. Yeah. So yeah, it's a feel good movie. It definitely has a Coda kind of vibe to it. Coda, the movie from last year that won the Best Picture Oscar. And a lot of people freaked out about Coda winning the Best Picture because I guess apparently in the last few years, or at least right now, it's terrible to have a movie that makes people feel good. Terrible. I mean, every movie has to be like My Left Foot or Moonlight or some social commentary after school special. But you know, you have to have movies like this, like The Tender Bar, that are feel good, and it's just a good story that doesn't make you want to stick your head in the oven when you're done watching it. So, but hey, everybody, with that, hey, you know, as always, thanks for listening to this latest episode of Movies Merica. Check it out on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and, you know, like I always say, get out there. Those movies aren't going to watch themselves. See ya.
Hey guys, don't leave the video quite yet. Okay, I've got the popo. They're coming after me, and I don't have much time to tell you, but you need to like and subscribe this video right here, down below. It's right down there. It's just waiting. It's waiting for you down there, okay? And make sure you watch these videos over here too. You'll be doing me a big favor. I'll be in handcuffs pretty soon. All right, thanks for watching.